Hello and Merry Christmas, everyone. My name is Gary Gomes. I'm coming to you from New Bedford, Mass. Greater New Bedford Cable Television. I'm also coming to you as your subscriber through Zoom, through YouTube, excuse me. And I've been recording these for approximately 3 years now. I have these are astrology broadcasts, and I've been a Vedic astrologer for about 30 years. I've been president of the vice president and president of the Council of Vedic Astrology. I've also held positions in Kepler, the American College of Vedic Astrology. I'm currently on faculty at Kepler and AGVA. And also have been recognized. I've had, I think, 2 awards from India, one from Vidya Bhavan, and one from Bangalore. And I'm also currently working with Saptarishi Astrology to do some lessons and work with Ashram Vidya Gurukulam. Been to Turkey, spoken about Vedic astrology there, written articles in the Mountain Astrologer, which I fell off maybe about 10 years ago writing, but I still write. And I am in progress of writing a book on Vedic astrology and also what I would call mixing and matching techniques across various astrologies. So I'm here to talk to you about Vedic astrology, what astrology means to the world, what it means in your life. These are essentially what I would call mundane astrology broadcasts. So mundane astrology isn't like boring unless you consider the world boring. It's more connected with worldly events, and I've used this technique for several years, right? And I'm enhancing the techniques. Every astrologer learns, even if they've been doing it 30 years, they learn as they're going along. And there's a lot of astrological knowledge in the world which has been lost, to be quite honest, both in India and in the West. So they were these large astrological systems that were essentially much more elaborate and refined than the ones we're currently using, and they're gone. They're being rediscovered slowly but surely, but there's a lot to unpack. So I'm going to give you a good analysis based upon what I see in the chart, and I also teach. I also do readings for people. So when I say that depends on your sign, on your chart, I want you to know I do readings. I'm also going to open additional channels, more animated, more lively, more active. This broadcast I would consider to be part of my triathlon of annual readings. So essentially, we do a chart for the new year, and I'll include a little bit more information about the new year chart this week. I'll do another one in next weekend on January 1st. I'll do another one on Chinese New Year. I'll do another one on January 15th, which is Capricorn, which is really good for financial charts. And I'm going to do another one on April 15th, which is essentially when the sun enters Aries. So there'll be a series of what I would call predictive charts for the year. They'll cover different topics. So you won't get bored. Hopefully you won't get bored by what I'm telling you. And you'll also be able to take information you can use and have the annual predictions updated, as it were, with new information, with revised information. So without further ado, let's go look at the chart. Also, I think I told you before, I'm planning on doing a music channel. I'm also planning on I might do different astrology channels for covering different lessons or covering different topics in Vedic astrology, like 10-minute presentations, so you can get a grasp on um, charts and how to put them together. I'll also be doing broadcasts for Saptarishi astrology out of India on hopefully within a couple of weeks, and also at the end of the month of January, there's going to be a seminar on relationships, and I'll be doing one of the presentations on that. I'm also hoping to do more lectures for our Vedic curriculum and a variety of other people. And again, as I said, I do have plans to open my own astrology school. It's every astrologer. There's I won't say it's an adage. There's a story in a lot of the old or there's old Vedic story that calls Shiva's curse, and essentially it sets up that astrologers will never agree with each other on anything. That's not entirely true, but we will have different ways of putting stuff together and interpreting things. So essentially, this gives you, the consumer, number one, confusion, which I wish we could avoid, and number two, choice. I like to do astrology in a very clear-cut, straightforward manner. So I don't like a lot of hyper fancy techniques in which you have to do the rumba around the chart in order to reach a conclusion. And that's not a criticism of anybody who likes those more elaborate techniques. I think they're fine and they have their place. But I tend to be a very linear thinker. It's both a strength and a weakness, and also sometimes I'll work straight from my gut, and most people will tell you to do that if you feel very strongly about something. So I think that one of the things that I like to bring to astrology is the framework that you bring in to this lifetime as an individual. Is the materials you're given to build with. Okay, whether you build something strong and positive, or lackluster and shaky, is really up to you. You're given a set of materials, and you can make wonderful things out of things people have thrown away. Okay, for example, you can make horrible things out of things that are brand new. So and I'll call upon divinity. Divinity or God has given us this marvelous gift in that we have choice. We have free will. Okay. So fate, schmate, essentially you can essentially, there are certain things that are going to happen to you. It'll be difficult to avoid. You can avoid them, or you can essentially uh, um, enter into changes with gusto and say, oh, this is new and exciting. I hadn't thought about that aspect of it. Or else you can cower in the corner and say, I don't want to change. I don't want to do anything new. And that's not meant insultingly. Some people have had enough, basically, if they hit a certain point, they've had enough. So I'm not blaming people who say, I've had enough. I don't want to go through another change. But the attitude of victory or defeat is yours. The attitude of winning or losing is yours. You can turn a loss into a win and a win into a loss. Okay, so I'm just encouraging you that these are tools that you're given to work with. How you use them, how you adjust them, how you interpret them, that's your mind at work. That's why the moon is so important in astrology, because it's the person's mind, is how they interact with the world. So I'm not criticizing anybody who doesn't want to do something hard. That's, change is hard. Adjusting to new situations is hard because it's unusual. But if you get used to the condition in the world that life is based upon change, perpetual change, with apologies to yes, you have a lot of opportunities to do something new, something interesting, something fantastic. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's always, and also this is a 6-year coming up, 222 is it, or 22 or 2022 is a 6-year. It abounds with opportunities for love, for happiness, for building a solid foundation for learning. Okay, so it's really a great year coming up. Okay, all right, so let's go to charts. Have I been recording? Let's see now. Oh, yes, I have. Thank God. It's been a little bit of a tough week for me too, like everybody else. Hold on a second. This little guy up. And let's see. All right. So we're going to go to the year chart first. Oh, also, I am planning on having some more sessions with Lita, Donatella, Rebecca, and also with my friend Dr. Suman, or Dr. Simone. As time permits and as availability permits. And I'm also planning on doing some additional collaborations, so stay tuned. I'm going to share the screen for you. All right, so let's do this. All right, so this is the chart for January 1st of 2022. Now, I went over this with you last week a little bit, but I want to explore a little bit more of the chart. So it's really an interesting chart because we have Virgo in the first house. Virgo is a sign that actually has to do with trade, but also to a certain extent with evaluation and judgment. And if the Lord of the first house is in the 5th house, as it is, you'll see a lot of people making judgments about relationships because the Aruda for the 7th is in the 5th house. And also about communications and media. Now, this is something which has been, as you can tell, it's been a recurring theme with me. And I think one of the reasons it is because I have a strong Mercury in my chart, and I was almost set to join the media many years ago. And I guess indirectly I'm part of it right now, in a very small way. YouTube is media. And I think what we're going to see is, to a certain extent, restrictions imposed upon media over the next year or so. I'm not talking about total censorship or total shutdowns, but I think you're going to see a lot of accountability for media people, especially accountability for people connected with the internet, which is Mercury. But also, I think, and again, whichever side of the political spectrum you're on, doesn't matter to me, to be honest with you. I'm actually kind of nowhere. Um, I don't think of myself as being either right or left. Um, years ago, I used to be very, very centered in one direction. Now I consider myself more pragmatic. So whatever is good for the world or the country is basically what I what I look to. It doesn't always mean I'm right, but that's how I make my judgments. And also, it'll be a very tough year on relationships again. Saturn's aspecting the seventh house, but the media is going. I don't know. I think you're going to see a lot of either control or regulation of media. Now, in the United States, for those of you who don't know, Congress can't make a law um, regarding control of media. Okay, so according to the Constitution, but there are still regulatory agencies like the FCC and things like that, and I think you're going to see it expanding. And also, media this year, to be honest with you, will be kind of pessimistic. And I'm saying that just to give you an honest heads up. Things will not be as bad as the media is saying. They're looking at it. So whenever you're looking at things through a lens, that lens tends to be distorted by the situation you're in right now. So we're in a situation right now where things look, depending on who you talk to, things look cautiously optimistic, or we're worried about further variants on the COVID vaccine. There have been some good news stories coming out about, as I predicted, about new treatments, and also Walter Reed Army Hospital is coming out with what they call a universal uh, SARS vaccine. COVID is essentially an offshoot of the SARS virus, or it's essentially what the SARS virus was, and that's indicated by Jupiter in the sixth house over here. So you'll see a lot of progress. So one pharmaceutical company has come out with a pill which can be extremely effective in treating COVID. It was given early in the process, like within the first 4 or 5 days of diagnosis. And you're going to see more medicines like that between now and April. And you'll see a lot more progress in terms of spreading those medications out between April and June of next year. The other thing, but you'll see Saturn go into Aquarius, so that'll slow down research to a certain extent for a couple of years. But I also think, to be truthful, this will mark the end of the spiral for this particular virus, or the beginning of the end, at the very least. The Sun-Venus conjunction, right now Venus is retrograde. So again, not really a great time to make any romantic decisions, long-term romantic decisions. Some people don't like to pay attention to retrogrades, but you'll see some shaky economic news because Venus rules the second house in the chart. And you'll see some anxiety because of the Moon-Mars conjunction, and some anger about politics because of this particular combination. Also, politics is going to be very punitive. The fifth house is also the house of politics. There'll be all sorts of ways that political parties will seek to punish each other or throw each other in jail. So just be prepared for a year full of headlines like that. Rahu is in the 9th house. Governments are going to be a little bit trying to think of a way to put it. They're going to be all over the map in terms of they're definitely not going to want to give a freedom to control things, freedom to control until around early April when Rahu moves into Taurus, and the entire role of government will be to essentially constrict or contract things or control things. This is not an unusual position for government to take, but it'll seem a little bit heavy-handed this year. The Moon-Mars conjunction in the 3rd house. So this is Mars in the same sign with the Moon in this debilitation sign. You'll start to see the real estate market start to flatten out a little bit, especially in the United States, but also expand and maybe go a little bit over the top. This will be around between February and March. Also, speculation, be careful with speculation. The 5th house is a house of speculation. You'll see some contraction of speculative gains over the next 3 to 4 months. Okay, so like I said, it's just good to know those things. After April, they'll come back really, really strongly. All right, so let's look at the world map, and we're going to look at the week. All right, now let me see if I can move this out of the way. I'm going to stop the share and start again. This locality map and where I'm expecting to see for time and space. That's what I want. It's about time, it's about space. Okay, so I hope I don't get hit with a copyright for that one. Okay. That was the theme song for a show that lasted 1 year. Less than 1 year, maybe I think 2 episodes. Venus and Mercury are in. Okay, so Venus is over between Alaska and the United States. So this is for the year coming up. This isn't for this week. So expect some shipping incidents and delays from Alaska. Some problems with government in Alaska as well. And Jupiter, Moon, and Mars are intersecting over northwest Canada, but not really hitting anything all that strongly. There could be some COVID increases in California, though, just based upon this combination right here. And the sun line is running right through New Mexico and Texas, Montana. It looks like in Nevada. No, not Nevada, Utah, excuse me. And Mexico down into Argentina. So what that means is you'll see governments start to get a little bit more strong or a little bit more aggressive, but also you'll see the lifting of certain government restrictions in those places because the sun's in Sagittarius. The other combinations we want to look at in the United States is we have a Venus and Mercury line coming through. Looks like Michigan down through Louisiana and Georgia, down into Cuba, and down through Colombia and Brazil. So this combination is going to give some storms there, some governmental restrictions there. And Saturn is going through the East Coast. So Saturn is going through Massachusetts. And with Saturn going through Massachusetts and particularly affecting the East Coast, you'll see a lot of restrictions in government, a lot of more conservative elements gaining favor in government, actually. And all the way through Guinea and and Brazil. But there's a Rahu line going through Brazil. Okay, so that's a panic line. Okay, so Brazil is still going to have problems enforcing, although there will be some influx of medications on the east coast of Brazil. Iceland and the Azores are having Mars and Moon lines, so again, I'm expecting to see some kind of really adverse weather, either volcanoes or water damages, accidents in this part of the world. We have a sun line going through France, so government will tend to be again and through England. So you'll start to see government start to get a little bit less restrictive around April. And there's a Venus line running through Italy and Greece and Northern Africa all the way to South Africa. So those two lines will be getting more and more bad news from that part of the world. And a Saturn line running through central Turkey and Russia, and I think you'll start to see some kinds of conflicts in that part of the world. So again, we're not talking about major wars. We're talking about minor conflicts. The other part of the world I'd be a little bit worried about is Iran and Madagascar and Iraq, because it's kind of a panic line running through there. Moon Mars are running through Western India, so I'm expecting to see some bad weather patterns there. And there's a sun line running through China, so you can expect to see the economies in both the U.S. and China start to pick up around April. And Korea has a Venus line running through it, so again, Korea will have some flooding, but not really anything horrible. And Japan, and there's a Mercury line running close to Korea as well, so they'll be reporting of scandal in Korea. And finally, as we get towards Japan, so some governmental scandal in Japan as well. And there's a Jupiter line running through Australia, which should give them some increased health. Some bad weather though in Australia, Eastern Australia. And so the bad weather I'm expecting to see, the bad weather indicators I'm expecting to see towards the beginning of the year, like within 2 months. After that, a lot of those things will calm down. And in terms of earthquakes or things like that, those are the lines, the Mars Moon lines are the most likely spots for those to occur, or other bad weather. Now I'm going to switch over to the chart for this week. You bear with me. To again. All right, so what's happening right now is we have Mars and K2 together, Saturn, Venus. So again, we've already seen the punitive measures, essentially various governments investigating different people across the world, not just in the United States. And certain cures coming again, like I said, actually pretty quickly over the next few months. So that's good. And also there's a certain level of optimism right now because Jupiter's in the first house, Rahu's in the fourth. So there's some anxiety. Again, don't be anxious about this year. You'll make it through. And career-wise, a lot of people will be deciding to change careers, essentially like they did last year. This cycle will go on really until around March or so, and then people will settle into more aggressive taking chances. They'll decide to make a change right now, and they'll move forward with a great deal of gusto by March of this year. And Saturn's in the 12th house, so it's again an expensive period this week. But also some potential for sensual pleasure because Saturn and Venus are conjunct in the 12th house. Sun and Mercury are in the 11th house, so new friendships are coming to people this year, or this week, excuse me. But career-wise, also some changes in relationships this week. So you'll see people more more changeable, more moody in relationship life. So it's a good combination. It's a Jupiter Moon mutual aspect. That's very good. Mars is aspecting Jupiter. That's what's causing the spread of Omicron, to be honest with you. That spread will continue pretty much unabated for about a couple of months. Because I've noticed a pattern when these diseases manifest. K2 is essentially a trigger, but Mars and Jupiter got to get out there, got to get out there fast. And finally, when Mars moves into this sign, the potential for another trigger won't exist for another few months. And thankfully, by that time, Rahu and Ketu will have moved to different signs. There'll be less of a chance for mutations. Okay. There'll be more interest in trade, more interest in markets, more of a move towards really what I would call blocking markets or blocking liberties because of. But also, I think this year we're going to see, hate to say it, either an epidemic of divorces or a real shift and some unusual pair-ups of people. So people who don't seem to belong together are getting together. And there'll be a spiritual motivation behind it, so that's good. As a matter of fact, that's going to be happening around April or so. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the energy is happening in that direction right now. But a lot of people, especially in relationship life, are really feeling a little bit torn and wary and uneasy about relationships, and they will until around April. That's really a result of the Saturn Venus. Then right now Venus is in at the beginning of the year. Venus will be back in Sagittarius, so we're back into Capricorn. So we'll have this really kind of like flip-flopping back and forth with how people feel about relationship life. So that's something that we have to look forward to. So, in case we'll be in the sign of relationships, it'll, it'll indicate either like an aversion to commitment or a real rapid, like sudden inspiration into commitment. It's really going to be a weird year for relationships, to be honest. And some relationships will end, either through death or through marriage or through divorce. Um, but some relationships will essentially be severed, and that includes business partnerships. It's not really a horrible thing, if K2 does it. There'll be some element of cheating or stealing connected with it. So just be careful about that. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but it does mean you should be more alert in relationship life, especially after April. Right now, just be alert about your temper and be alert about illnesses because that Mars K2 conjunction is a little bit rough. And also, but the Mars Jupiter, if you have a good idea and Jupiter's aspecting Moon, especially about writing something down, go for it because it's really a fantastic time to do that. The other thing you want to look for in the chart is we have right now. Right now, this is kind of an optimistic time. Jupiter's in where is our friend Jupiter? Jupiter's in Scorpio. So there's a lot of research going on, a lot of suspicion, but also in the D10 chart is in the 10th house. So there's a lot of room for career expansion, new careers, especially involved with writing or communication. Right. So overall, a good year to make career changes, especially after March. But I'm looking at the immediate week, and if we're looking at the immediate week, let's look at that. All right, so the immediate week ahead, we have a Moon and Mars line intersecting with Hawaii. So again, that part of the world's going to have, and Alaska, so that part of the world's going to have some adverse weather. So again, volcanoes are a little bit tough to say, but Mercury, Sun is over Oregon and close to Northern California. So you're going to see some what I would call a government overreach in those parts of the world. So essentially, just kind of tight controls. This week, you have the rising sign line is over New Mexico, so this will be kind of a center of attention for people. Mercury is going over Mexico all the way into the Dakotas and into central Canada. And so that means that part of the world is going to get a lot of media coverage. There's a Saturn line going up through Texas and Mexico, excuse me, and all the way into the Great Lakes and into Canada around Toronto. And there's a Mars line. So actually Canada looks like a little bit of a trouble spot around here. So maybe like a really fast spread of the pandemic up here and some down here in Cuba and Central America as well. So just be careful. Also, there's this line right here, which is I need to trace this one. Sorry, this isn't identified. Yeah, there's a Rahu line going through the Midwest, so there's a little bit of panic there as well. Yeah, this is the Ascendant Jupiter line right here. So it looks like there'll be a lot of good research coming um, out of Washington, D.C. I don't think a lot of compromise because Jupiter in Aquarius really isn't a compromised planet. Um, and also some problems in Virginia with governance and in North and South Carolina and also in Florida and in Cuba. So you'll see more liberalization in Cuba, more liberalization in Panama and just north of there. And the sun, so more laws being passed, especially around this part of the state, this part of the country, around New York and Massachusetts. Also, the sun is passing through Brazil right now. This is currently, um, and the moon is passing through western. Um, the moon line is passing through western South America. So that'll provide some financial gains. You'll see some financial recovery in that part of the world. So that's good news for them. Government, again, is going to be a little bit restrictive in Brazil. I know it's a conservative government, but they'll probably be cracking down more on people. And Mercury is on the east coast of Brazil, so there'll probably be some problems with skin illnesses and also with land issues in eastern Brazil. Venus is close to the Azores, so some storms activity is indicated there. Saturn, a lot of rain, really. Saturn is passing over Iceland in Western Africa, so that'll make some more blows to the economy in that part of the world. Jupiter is passing over France and close to England and Spain, so you should actually start to see more cures coming up um, for COVID and related diseases, and also some expansionary policy due to the economy or to the economy. Sun line is running through Switzerland, Italy, Algeria. So again, you'll start to see some restrictions in those parts of the world and Egypt. And let's see what's passing through Turkey. It's a Mercury line. So Turkey will be in the news a lot lately over the next week or so. This line right here, this Mercury Venus line passing over over Saudi Arabia. You're certainly going to see some more good news coming out of Saudi Arabia, some more positive news. But again, I think one of the things you'll also see is um, more traditional culture coming out, more of a back turning in social traditions. Saturn is moving through Pakistan and Afghanistan, so those governments will be very, very restrictive. Coming close to India, so you may see some rather difficult relationships between those two countries and India. Now we have kind of a conundrum here. We have Rahu and Jupiter crossing close to Bengal. So to me, that indicates there'll be a lot of panic, a lot of additional cases of things like Omicron, and also but also a heavy response, a really rapid response. But economic activity is still going to be slow in China. there'll be some economic activity in central China, but anxiety over the virus will tend to um, dampen that. And Indonesia will also have some decline in economic activity because of anxiety. So will Western Australia. And Australia will go through a short period of what I would call increased government restrictions. And the same is true of New Zealand, interestingly enough. So I don't know if New Zealand's going to go into shutdown or Japan's going to go into shutdown, but there are signs that there is more of a tightening of economic activity in those regions. So we're stuck for about I would say a good 2 months of uncertainty about whether to loosen standards, whether to tighten standards. And I don't want to make everything about the Omicron. Um, there is some tension in the Ukrainian border with Russia, but I think that'll dissipate within about a week or so. I think Russia will back down significantly, but I also don't think that NATO will invite the Ukraine in. I'd be very surprised if they did that. So let's go to the chart for this week. I don't have a lot of time. Also, if you like what I'm doing, even if you don't like what I'm doing, join, subscribe. I'd encourage you to subscribe so I can improve, so you can tell me what I'm doing wrong and I can improve. But I'm hoping you like what I'm doing, and if you do like it, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and I do want to grow this space, and I can only do it with your help. You're very important to me, and it's not just because of that. You're very important to me because I care about what happens to the world and what happens to you folks and your lives. Okay, so I really do care. All right, so the rising sign has shifted since I started, but let's look at Aries. So these are going to be quick readings just because I spent so much time on world events. All right, so Aries, dissatisfaction with money. Home life will get a little bit calmer and more serene, though, a little bit happier. Relationship life, still a little bit difficult, and still some uncertainty about whether or not to trust anybody. Really, that's going to be the big deal for Aries over the next couple of months. And Venus and Saturn, still some commitments to relationship life, but not really a lot of happiness from it. Jupiter's in the 11th house, good for financial gains. Rahu's is in Taurus. So for Taurus, that Rahu combination, Rahu, Mars, Ketu, is been problematic for them. But home life looks a little smoother. But relationship life looks a little bit tougher, to be honest. Looks a little bit, looks like people are having problems with spouses. And they're also having problems with confidence as well, and with children. But overall, career luck is good. Career expansion is very, very likely. So that's a good sign. For Gemini has some strong relationship opportunities in this chart. As a matter of fact, almost all of its attention will be focused on relationships until January 15th, and then it'll focus on money. But right now, that's where it's focused. And Moon is in the 3rd house, so there's a strong desire to make changes or to bring new things into life. There's a little bit of hesitancy to do it, but definitely a time to learning new skills. Mars, Ketu, and this sign will run into unseen opposition or opposition from people who just are kind of jealous of it. Career life, Our relationship partners are a little bit tough just because of this combination, but the Venus and Saturn in conjunction will keep it that way until around April, and then career life for a relationship partner will blossom. And in the meantime, relationship partner can learn new skills. For Cancer, relationship life got a little bit sweeter, but it's going to end up being a little bit duller next month, within a few days, actually, just because of Venus going retrograde. And also from the chart, more focus on money. Money's going to be extremely important to the sign this month. As a matter of fact, there'll be a lot of potential for making money. Mars is in the fifth house, so some problems with children continue. Children will be a little bit ill-tempered. Some problems in politics as well, or even with office politics. Sun and Mercury, the sign has to watch out for his health. And Saturn and Venus in the seventh house, we already discussed that. Jupiter will bring money into relationship partners, though. And Rahu will bring some famous people into this person's life. Virgo has Mercury as the fourth lord. Fourth lord is also the 10th lord, so career life should expand a lot over the next couple of months, but work will increase a lot over the next week or so. And also, this sign will have a lot more courage than normal. I've said this many times before, but it's true. Also, some health problems may persist for this sign, but they won't be that long-lived. And you'll see a lot of financial gains. I'm going to stop the share and start it again. Way I can ensure that you're seeing. The chart is still going, it's still broadcasting. And also, at least from this chart, again, career life, bosses will change. Bosses will be tough to satisfy or make happy, but they'll do well. I think I skipped over Leo. Leo will have a lot of good luck this month. Some slowing down because of relationship problems and also because of health problems. And Sun and Mercury in the fifth house, some problems. No problems with children, really. Children will be a delight, but there'll be a lot of fights at home. And again, some problems or difficulties with doctors or advisors. For Libra, and a lot of career expansion for Leo, a lot of career expansion for Leo. For Libra, Libra has Mars and Ketu in the second house, so there'll be a lot of fights at home. That's kind of like said a lot of unhappiness with relationship partners and a lot of personal unhappiness, but a lot of optimism that things will get better. Jupiter's in the fifth house. That's actually a good placement. It gives a lot of financial luck to the sign. And let's see now, Rahu's in the eighth, so relationship partners will be very difficult to please. Moon is in the 11th, so that should bring a lot of fast money into the sign. For Scorpio, Scorpio has Sun and Mercury in the second house, so it'll actually do better for money. It'll feel a little bit suspicious or a little bit disenchanted with its life, but that'll pass. It'll take about a few months, but it will pass. Venus and Saturn will be in the third house, so there's more courage in terms of relationship opportunities. Rahu's in the seventh house. This sign will tend to not be happy in relationship life. And Moon is in the 10th house. Sign will feel very strongly it will want to change careers. Finally, when we get to the last quadrant, or the last third, Sun and Mercury are in the first house, so this sign will be very smart. Sagittarius will be very smart, very bright. Focused on money, not bringing in a lot in, but focused very strongly on money, and money will come in with short dribs and drabs. But very desirous of learning, very strong emphasis on learning. Rahu, they'll be anxious about health issues, and Moon is in the ninth house, so career life will change bosses. It will also change luck. So you can expect to see increased luck for the sign. For Capricorn, Capricorn has Saturn in the first house along with Venus. This is a lucky combination. So this sign will actually have increased financial success, at least for a few days. And it will probably continue for the next 3 months. And with Jupiter in the second house, they'll definitely draw in more business. The other thing to look for is Rahu's in the fifth house, so greedy kids overall, or dissatisfied children. Moon is in the eighth house, so relationship partner will seem to be a little bit depressed or a little bit down. And Mars is in the 11th house, so gains from real estate or property, but also a lot of those gains will tend to be go for other expenditures. And Sun is in the 12th house along with Mercury, so this chart will opt to do some public service or some public good. For Aquarius, Aquarius has Jupiter Moon opposition. Actually, Aquarius is one of the better positioned signs. It has Jupiter in the first house, Moon in the seventh, so it's good for bringing in money. Saturn's in its own sign in the 12th house, so a lot of the money, the person will be able to hold on to a lot of money. Venus is in the 12th house, so relationship life may not be spectacular, but you'll get money coming in from a distance or people expressing interest in you relationship-wise from a distance. Sun and Mercury will be in the 11th house. Again, good for financial gains, especially through the 15th of January. And Mars and K2 are in the 10th house, good for work, a lot of work pressure, a lot of pressure on this particular moon sign and sun sign and rising sign, but also a lot of luck, a lot of risk taking too. For Pisces, that's the last one. We have basically Jupiter's in the 12th, which will make it very interesting in spiritual pursuits. Rahu's in the third, which will make it more daring and more brave. Moon's in the sixth, so again, worries or concerns about health issues. And Mars and K2 in the ninth house. So luck, but everything you do will have to be done through a series of arguments with people. And people taking back money, then giving it, taking it back, then giving it. Sun and Mercury are in the 10th house, so good for career, extremely good for career, but a lot of effort. Saturn and Venus are in the 11th house, so it gives good financial gains. And Jupiter's in the 12th house. A lot of expenditures connected with career and travel connected with career in general. So that's it for this week. I wish you a blessed and a happy Christmas. I wish you the best of all possible New Year's. Remember, life is what you make it. So don't, that's another song lyric. I gotta watch it. But try to do something positive. If you can't go out, try to learn something. If you can't connect in the environment in which you wish to connect, see if you can connect in other environments. There's always a way to connect, to exercise, to make money, to improve yourself. So you can certainly spend time in front of television and learn something. You can spend time in front of television and do entertainment. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You can also spend additional time meditating or exercising. And also keep in mind that Omicron has shown signs of being very, very mild as a COVID variant. Now, again, we don't know the whole story. I understand that, but it's okay to go out and do things. Okay. So I got to go and have a blessed year.